Correct.
Peace.
My guy, how you doing?
What's good, man? Peace, man. Pardon me for being late, man.
It's all good. We
Uh,
got all day.
all right, all right. I was on the other end of the city, man. So it was crazy, man. Just trying to get back, man. But I'm here, man.
I
Pardon me, man.
appreciate you making the time and allowing me once again to give you your flowers.
Thank
Last
you, man.
time we connected was 5 years ago for the
Yeah,
25th. Five
exactly.
5 years have flown by. Now we're working on the 30th, which is tomorrow.
Absolutely.
For everybody who's joining, this is episode 153. I'm with the legendary K-Cut of Main Source,
Peace,
and
peace,
we're going
y'all.
to break down Breaking Atoms 30 years later. If you want to give us just a little bit of quick background about this album for people who do not know, briefly, how was Main Source formed?
Main Source was formed basically in high school. You know what I mean? Like I met Large Professor through a friend of mine named Van. And Van connected me to Large Pro. He said it was an MC. So from there, we connected and brought him back to the crib, let him introduce him to my mom and my brother. And from there, it was just like history. You know, we started doing demos. And from doing the demos, we hooked up with Paul C. And he's the one that pretty much crafted like the sound, because what he was doing back then was just phenomenal. You know what I mean? So we kind of adapted to his style. So when he passed away, it was just like we just kept on with the legacy with Paul C and how he, you know, did what he did with making beats and stuff like that. So that was basically like, you know, our sound. You know what I mean? That Paul C sound, which made the Main Source sound. You know what
Right.
I mean?
With the demos, did you go to several labels, and how did you guys end up at Wild Pitch?
We pitched Main Source from the very beginning. When we first did our first demos, we had a record called Think, but it's not the Think that everybody knows on the 12-inch. It was a previous version of Think that we did, and we basically pitched that to different labels, and labels were like, "Nah, man, we don't feel what y'all are doing." You know what I mean? So we went back in the lab, and that's where we came up with Think that everybody knows on the 12-inch on the red label. You know what I mean? And we put that out ourselves. My mom paid for, you know, everything and distribution, like pressing, you know what I mean? So she took it out of her pocket to basically put that record out, and pretty much that's how, you know, everything started. You know what I mean? For my mom, you know, putting that bread up, you know what I mean, to invest in the group, you know?
Right. As a trio, what kind of conversations did you guys have going into your debut album as far as the direction you guys wanted to go?
I mean, back then we were young, man. We were kids, man. So it was just like we were vibing ever since, man. So it was just like for us, it was just like, all right, yo, let's put this together. Like, you know, the idea that we had from before and putting everything together. And then when we went in the studio, it was like being in a candy factory because we had like limited, you know, time. And it was just like, it was time to get creative and do what we had to do. But Large Pro had the majority of the ideas together. So when we went into the studio, we just basically compiled everything. Like, you know, I had ideas that I put to certain tracks. You know, Scratch had ideas. You know what I mean? And then I came to the table with certain, you know, records as well. You know what I mean? Pieces not the word to play. You know what I mean? And then Large would, you know, add ideas on top of that. So, you know, a lot of people think, you know, Large was the one that did the record, but ideally, like, we all contributed towards that record. That's why the record sounds the way it sounds, because there was all three people that were contributing. You know, granted, you know, Large Professor is a producer, but we all are producers too. And that's, you know, when I do interviews, I try to, you know, express that. You know, we were not the vocal ones because we're not the MCs. We're the DJs and the dudes in the back, you know, the producers in the back. So we didn't really have a voice. You know what I'm saying? So when I interview with people now these days, I'm like, yo, y'all got to understand that the reason why you have that record the way it is right now is because of all three of us. You know what I'm saying? And that's what created that Breaking Atoms, that Main Source sound. You know what I mean? Where you have, you know, influences of reggae and, you know, all type of genres in that shit, because that's, you know, it's coming from different backgrounds, you know what I'm saying? So that's what, you know, created that magic, you know, with all three of us, you know what I'm saying?
Right. What was the creative process for you personally going into this album, as far as finding certain samples you wanted to use? What was your creative process with this album?
I mean, the creative process was just like, yo, we just gotta go in the studio and bang it out. You know what I mean? So for me, it was just like, again, like I would bring certain things to the table. Like Large would come over the crib and I'll be like, yo, listen to this record. And he'll be like, yo, that's funky. All right, when we go in the studio, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna add this and we're gonna add that. And that's, you know, that's what became, you know, songs like Peace Is Not the Word to Play, you know, Scratch and Cut, and, you know, Just Hanging Out and all of that shit. You know what I'm saying? So we just went in the studio with a bag of records and just added to and put to, and just had like some of our friends there, you know what I mean? Like Juju, you know, Van, like a lot of people came through the studio, and it was just like a party, but record producer nerds, you know what I'm saying? So we just have fun with it, man. And again, that's what created that record, man. We just have fun with it. We weren't thinking about like, you know, is this gonna be a hit record? We're trying to make hits. We just came with records that we felt that were, you know, us and felt good to us, and our peers around us was like, yo, that shit is dope, you know what I mean? So yeah, you know, rock with that one, you know what I mean? So again, like it was just like a bunch of fun, but it was just like being creative, but also being like specific on genres and how we wanted to attack things and what was going on at the time. You know what I mean? So that's where you came up with, you know, you had songs like Front Door or Just a Friendly Game of Baseball, and you know what I mean? And Peace Is Not the Word to Play. It was all about your environment at that time. So, you know what I mean? That's again, you know, how that record came about. It was just like a good, fun, but knowledgeable experience at that time when you were growing up in New York City.
Right. From beginning to end, how long do you think it took to craft this classic album?
Gosh, man, I want to say at least, I don't want to say something wrong because it's been so long ago, man. I want to say at least 8 months to a year. You know what I mean? To get that whole album right, you know what I mean? Because we went from studio to studio, and then we found one studio that we really loved, and that's where we pretty much, you know, crafted that whole record, and that was Libra Digital Studios in Queens. So yeah, I want to say about, you know, 8 months, man, to actually do that record.
Right. What I want to do is play like 30 seconds of each track and just take us back to your best memories, maybe some fun facts, something we may not know. Maybe this was supposed to be the first single, but we chose that. Just anything you can think about when I play 30 seconds of each song. Cool?
Absolutely.
All right.
Uh,
Instagram likes to flag me on songs, so just
oh,
to let the fans know what we're talking about, I'll play like just a quick snippet. But take us back to Snake Eyes.
oh, Snake Eyes was actually, that's funny that you play that. That's the first one of the first songs I remember when Large brought it to the crib, and it was just there was just the sample and the drums, and it was just like, yo, he had this idea, and the name of the song, he said, yo, we're gonna call this song Snake Eyes, and that's how he was feeling at that point. There were some certain things going on in, you know, in life, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to, you know, put it out there, but there's certain things going on, and he had to just actually attack that song the way he did, you know, on that record. You know what I mean? So I remember that joint clearly, man. Us bringing it in the studio and just building on it, man. But yeah, the raw essence of that song and the rawness, was just crazy. So when we completed it, we knew that was like one of those joints that was like, yeah, all right, cool. This is gonna draw attention to, you know what I mean? A lot of people
Right.
are gonna be like, yo, who's this? Is he talking about me or is he talking about, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that song, that's one of those, like, I got to really check myself and not really fuck around, because that could be about me, you know what I mean? So,
Right. No
so
doubt.
yeah.
I'm just hanging out.
Just
Again,
hanging out.
oh man, hanging out. Again, that was like a record where, Large brought it to the crib, and I always had like reggae records and stuff like that. So it was just like one of those vibes where we had to put like the Sister Nancy joint in there. You know what I'm saying? My background is Jamaican and Guyanese. So, you have that culture. So you gotta, add that flavor. You know what I mean? So we added that, and we, again, like a lot of these records was basically, rough ideas that we went into Libra Digital and we just build on it. You know what I mean? So that's how you got like the Sister Nancy and all of that stuff, man. It's just like, there's only so much you can do in your crib when you're making records, you know what I mean? So it's just like we just had like rough ideas and this went in there and this added all the greatness to it, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's another one, man. One of my favorite records on the album, man. One of my favorite ones, man. And it's not even because we added a Sister Nancy loop in it. It's just that flavor, man. Like, it describes like how we were when we were teens. You know what I mean? Like we're just hanging out, man. And that's pretty much what you hear in the songs is pretty much what we did. You know what I mean? That's what
Right.
it was, man. You know what I mean? Everything Large said was true in that record. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Very
just
dope.
hanging out. Word up.
We fight every night.
Now
Woo!
this was my first introduction pretty much to Main Source. I remember it like it was yesterday on Rap City. But
Right.
take us back. Was this your first choice as the first single off this album?
That probably to think back, I don't know if that was the first one, but Stu Fine at the label was like, yo, that is the record that we need to put out. So we had different versions of Looking at the Front Door. And I remember my first the first version was structured different. We didn't have like the, oh baby, don't you care? No, we never stuff in it, but when Stu was like, yo, y'all need to do something to that record, man, because this could be a potential big record. So he was like, go back in the studio, add a bridge to it. And that's where we first, figured out like bridges. Like we never had bridges in our song. So he's the one that was like, yo, y'all need to put bridges in your song to space out the song, to give it kind of like a breather. And we were like, as kids, you didn't want nobody telling you about how to put your records together. But we took the suggestion and we went back in the studio, and that's when we started doing little breaks in songs and coming up with different ideas to change it around. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much like how we got that idea, was from Stu. So, salute to Stu, because yeah, the record was definitely different than what y'all hear from right now. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Right. How long was that single playing before the album dropped? Do you remember how long the buzz built up before
That
the album dropped?
that record, when it first came out, it took off, man. And it's so funny because when it took off, it was just like everything started rolling. Everything went really, really fast after Front Door came out. So it wasn't a thing of like it had to pick up or whatever. People just, when that record dropped, everybody got it. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, okay, we're on our way right now. And that's, you know, for young kids back then, that's what we wanted. You know what I mean? For everyone to get what we were doing. You know what I mean? And it wasn't, you know, again, like I said, we weren't trying to make records to be like, you know, like the in shit or like the cool dude. We were trying to make records, man, because we had passion for music, and we still do have passion for music. This is what we love doing. We love making records. You know what I mean? So again, when that record came out, it was just like something that we didn't know was going to have that trickle effect, you know, to have people really, you know, gravitate to what we were doing in terms of the album. You know what I mean? So it was a good experience, man, in terms of that, and I'm very grateful that it happened the way it did. You know what I mean?
Right. At this time, I would like to thank everybody who's been purchasing badges throughout this interview. It helps support the platform. So if you are interested, it is at the bottom. Like I said, thank you so much. And let's jump into Large Professor.
I'll dance to your backside foot. 49 prison, this some income. When the sun goes down, forget a flash goes off like that. Yeah, get from the ass off the man with the eyes brown. Try corners, money, look at this phone snap, see me, all actors, see it feel off 50 with years. Your brakes is in the field, your mind is sealed. Coming up with the off your body response. Both drums allow me to spark you with rhymes. The mic's my instrument, my skills are infinite. Catch your head from it, cause it's the law.
Yeah.
You guys was ahead of your time. Take us back to Large Professor.
That was okay. So that record we did, that was on the original actual record. So we did Watch Roger Do His Thing, and we did Large Professor. That wasn't on the album per se. That was a record that we had as a single on actual. So that was one of my grandfather's records, man. That was a Ken Lazarus joint, a soca artist, and we found out at my grandfather's house in Canada, and we took it back to New York, and there you got it, the Large Professor, and it was dope because we already had like that idea of scratching like the Large Professor, so it was automatic. It was just like, all right, cool, like we got it from you know, our other record, so we'll just scratch that and, you know, make this title The Large Professor. So it came in really cool, man. So that was yeah, thanks to my grandfather with that record. Looking Out, man, the Ken Lazarus joint. That was crazy. For real.
Oh shit, another young brother hit. I better go over my man's crib and get the pump. Cause to the top shooting brothers, it's like playing baseball. And they're never in a slump. I guess when they shoot up for cool, it's a crash round. And when it's one, it's a home run. But I'ma be ready for the wild pitch. My finger got a bad twitch. Plus I'm on switch side. Step up to the baddest box. Fuck red and white. I got on black socks. But let him shoot a printer from the white socks. What's the call? Foul ball. Babe Ruth would've made.
Wow. Just the an analogy in this song and how you guys put this together. Take us back to the concept of just a friendly game of baseball.
That record, I mean, it gives me the chills, man, because that record is like a record that is so timeless, man, and it's so about what's happening, you know, now these days. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And when you take it back, the same shit that's happening now was happening back then, and that's one of those records where we had to actually, you know, speak about, yo, this is what's going on in New York. You know what I'm saying? And motherfuckers is getting like, you know, hassled by the police and all of that stuff. So it was one of those things that we had to talk about it. And another one, the thing about this song too was that we were heavily into like Public Enemy as well, right? So we wanted to have like different changes and different like movement in the record. So it felt like, you know, it wasn't a Public Enemy record, but it was a Main Source record to how we would do it, you know what I mean, in terms of like changes and just texture on the record, you know what I mean? But that record, like, it gives me the chills when I listen to it now, man, because it's just like, yo, this is what's happening, man. This is the real world right now, you know what I'm saying? And is things gonna change? Probably not. You know, we don't know, but hopefully it does. You know what I mean? And people listen. You know what I mean? So that record was picked up, and we got it on Boys in the Hood, and you know, again, you know, people really gravitated to a record that's, you know, just talking about, you know, everyday life and what people go through. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, that's another heater, man. That's another heater on the Breaking Atoms, man. I'm not gonna lie, man. I mean, every now and then I listen to the album and I'm like, damn, man, like, who would have thought, like, 3 kids from Queens, you know what I mean? And 30 years later, you know, people are still loving what we've done, man. And it's, I appreciate it so much, man, for the fans and everybody that still sticks by Main Source and still listens to our music, man. It's a blessing, man. You know what I mean? And I'm glad we're still here as we are, you know, to either perform it or talk about it, and, you know what I mean, to really get it out there. You know what I'm saying? It's a blessing, man. And I want to thank you, man, for, you know what I mean, actually putting that out there and putting us out there, and all the love that and support that you've shown us, man, brother. For real.
Absolutely. I know how you changed my life, so it's an honor and a blessing. And that's just being real. You know, you guys saved my life in the sense of running home on the weekends to catch UMTV Raps. I wasn't in the streets. I was trying to catch the latest Main Source video.
No
you know
doubt.
what I'm saying? So, and that went on for years, man. So,
man.
Yeah.
That's what's up, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no doubt. Take us back.
Wow, this is one. All right, so back in the days, they had like Marley Marl. If people don't know Marley Marl, like from WBLS, you know what I mean. He used to have these like records, Marley Scratch, where he just like cut up his name, and, you know, it basically made an instrumental with like dope scratches and stuff like that. So when we had the chance to do an album, you know, I wanted to make a record like that, you know what I mean? And basically cut up our names, and from Large Professor, who's the mad scientist, and K Cut and Sir Scratch, and, you know, that's pretty much the idea for that record, man. It was just basically like a bonus record that we wanted to just shine on the DJ real quick, and just like have the DJ just like, you know, throw some little chops in there, and just like, you know what I mean? And the funny thing about this record in particularly, when we dropped the album, leaders of the new school used to use this as their intro coming out to shows and stuff. So when Buster was like, yo, you know, we use that scratch and cut as our intro, I was like, yo, that's crazy, man. So they had a whole routine using this as their intro. And that was like an honor, because, I mean, back then we all used to roll with each other. You know what I'm saying? Like Leaders, Tribe, you know what I'm saying? And De La, because we all used to do shows together and tour together. So we were kind of like on that close knit circle and stuff, man. So we kind of knew what the other person was doing, and, you know, if we were going to be traveling together and everything like that. But yeah, that's like a little fun fact, man, that yeah, man, Leaders definitely was using that as their intro, man. Again, that's a special record, man, because not too many people really give the respect to DJs, you know, at the time, you know what I mean, to really like give them their blessings and say, yo, boom, you know what I mean, this is what it is. So that's the kind of record that is right there. Excuse me.
No doubt. Very dope.
Hey.
Piece of what? You can't be D-E-A-C-E. Cause I've seen people on the street shoot the next man and turn around and say peace. But that's making people in pieces. It's not what they mean in pieces. To me, it means that it's a world fusion. Never got any more losing than we own so accustomed to. You forget.
Yeah. Wow. It's funny. When I made this record, we were probably like at least 4 songs deep in the album. And Large came over and he was like, yo, so play me some beats. Let me see what you got. Like, you know what I mean? We need more records for the album. And I was so reluctant to play this record, man, because I was like, it's not ready yet. It's not ready yet. You know what I mean? So I just said, you know, for some reason, I just said, yo, let me just play this record real quick. And when I played it for him, he was like, yo, I got an idea. And I was like, all right, cool. So again, another song that we just took in the studio and we paced it and put it together. And it was off of that Public Enemy vibe where there was so many changes and so many things happening in that record to make it the way it is. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
yeah, I'm so happy I played that record, man, because a lot of people love that record and what it stands for. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, yeah, man, that's a special record, man, for real.
Was that the second single?
It was it the second single or the third single? Jeez, you see, it's been so long.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you.
Yeah, I wanna say it was the third single, because
Okay.
I want to say we did Just Hanging Out, and then we did Peace.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to say the third single. That was the third single for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.